We have reached decision time. Neither the British people nor Europe are going to wait forever. And for MPs, it's increasingly clear that Brexit will be resolved either by a general election or a referendum. So now is the moment to choose. The one unifying principle for Labour, right across the span of opinion in the party, is rooted opposition to a no-deal Brexit. But some in the party leadership, though fortunately not all, and some Lib Dems seem to think that if we have an extension till the 31st of January 2020 and a general election, then a no-deal Brexit is somehow off the table.
I'd like to see an election before Christmas. I want to get Boris Johnson and his Thatcherite mates out of Downing Street as soon as possible. So as soon as the EU has agreed that extension so Boris Johnson can't push us through a no deal without a mandate to do so, then we want a general election.
It would set the date for the next election on the 9th of December, but crucially, it would be conditional on there being an extension to Article 50, which would mean no deal was taken off the table.
Brexit is really a tale of two deals. The first is the terms of the withdrawal agreement, including the Irish border, now before Parliament. But that is only the gateway into the second deal, which is the future negotiation between Britain and Europe, a much bigger negotiation. That only happens after we exit and runs through 2020. And in that negotiation, a no-deal Brexit is absolutely on the table. And this negotiation is going to be tough. And the timetable for the negotiation is super tight, with the new European Commission only in place in January 2020 and the deal to be struck in July. So in that negotiation, a no-deal Brexit is for sure on the table. The logical thing would be for the opposition parties to refuse Boris Johnson an election unless he agreed to take a no-deal Brexit off the table in that future negotiation and legislate for it. Or they could revive the idea of a caretaker government to resolve Brexit properly. But if neither of those things happen, then the only way Brexit will be resolved is by a decision of the British people. And the question is, should that be in a general election or in a referendum? No opposition party in British history has ever won an election from this polling position. And the Lib Dems may think they will do well in a general election, but the reality is the opposition vote is going to be split. So Boris Johnson could win a majority in Parliament with 40% or 35% of the vote, when the combined vote of the anti-no-deal opposition parties is over 50%, and yet he will claim that he has a mandate to negotiate, including a no-deal outcome to that negotiation. If we fall into this trap, we risk 5 years of a right-wing Conservative government and a no-deal Brexit outcome. And if we bet the future of this country on an election and fail, we will never be forgiven. And of course, there could be a hung parliament, in which case we're no further forward. So the only sure path to Brexit resolution is a referendum. And in that referendum should go on the ballot paper the government's deal, no deal, and staying in Europe. I understand why many people on the Remain side are completely opposed to no deal going on the ballot paper. But it's on the ballot effectively in a general election anyway. And better to take the chance of losing a no-deal referendum than gamble on winning a Brexit general election. So for Parliament, this is the moment of clarity and decision. The only way to be sure of getting no deal off the table is for the British people to vote it down. And a referendum is also the only sure way to get a clear decision. If it's felt Parliament also has to be renewed, then have the election and the referendum on the same day. But don't mix up the specific question on the specific issue of Brexit with a general election. Brexit began with the decision of the British people in a referendum. How it ends should be decided in the same way.